Welcome, y'all. Welcome to what is going on over there. Welcome to the Check Swing Podcast with myself, and my man San over there, finishing his beverage. Sounds like it has ice in it, so it's nice and cold and probably delicious,
It's chilled.
deliciously delicious. Um, and like I said, welcome to the Check Swing Podcast. We are here to talk about some legends of the game, namely Philadelphia, for the next few weeks, and we're going to, of course, talk about our greatest Philadelphia athletes. And today is going to be no different. Today we're talking about the greatest Sixers of all time. But before we get into that, y'all know how I like to start the show. Always got to ask my people, how you been, man? It's been a week. How you been?
Been well, sir. Still getting used to the DMV. I'm just about getting used to the DMV.
Mhm.
Um, to the new digs and stuff. So Baltimore ain't that much different than Philly. Just more seafood access
And better seafood too.
and better seafood, authentic. Well,
Definitely better
something
seafood.
authentic.
Definitely,
How, do- how, do-
definitely.
how do you feel about the new National League Manager of the Year, Mister Gabe?
Mr. Gabe Kapler. So, San Francisco Giants, Gabe Kapler won National League Manager of the Year. And of course, for those that may not know, but should, Gabe Kapler was the manager of the Phillies uh, for what, 2 seasons?
2 seasons.
2 seasons prior to going to San Francisco, and um, was not well received in Philadelphia. To say it nicely, he was not well received there. People thought he was in over his head, didn't know what he was doing, didn't know what he was talking about. And now he's the National League Manager of the Year. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong. His team had the number one seed in the playoffs too. Correct?
Yeah. And don't get it twisted. I think it was really a personality comp because he's a California guy, and when you start off an introduction or start off an interview by talking about the wonders of coconut oil on the body, it kind of rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah. 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 I was thinking about how you had the Gabe Kapler initial press conference, and you had the Nick Sirianni press conference earlier this year, and or was that late last year, whatever it was before the season started. It was we had some very interesting interviews with coaches,
We've covered coconut oil and fertilizer, all by our two coaches in the last couple of years.
planting the roots and watering seeds, and the grass got to grow, and with coconut oil, rubbing guava juice all over. I don't know what's going on, but
Guava juice
guava juice.
sounds like a fetish. All right, moving on.
Yeah, you said it, not me. I'm not. Yeah. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the New Twist Radio YouTube channel, where you can see all of the videos and shows that we do. Um, just go to youtube.com/New Twist Radio. You see the 10-7 show, Intelligent Ignorance, Let's Not Argue, Check Swing Podcast, all types of things. New Twist Radio presents all these things on there, and you know enjoy. But make sure you subscribe and share and like and comment. It's a lot of work. Take your time, spread it out over time, get it done. Miguel,
Sir,
we've been talking about the greatest athletes of in Philly history, right?
correct.
Last week we talked about the Flyers. We sent out the survey to the people so the people can vote on their favorite Flyer. This week we'll be sending out one where people can talk about their favorite Sixer. You and I have put together our own lists, and we are going to the top four say because we had to narrow it down to only four, and the stipulations are what they have to play 4 years, right?
I have to play a minimum of 4 years with the Philadelphia, whichever local Philadelphia team. And they had to have made some sort of impact, either statistically or fundamentally, spiritually. I don't know. Um,
Somehow they had to make an impact.
right, had to make an impact. So,
And great players make impact. So it's not
great
like
players, right.
it's
Not
not like they're going to be picking the ninth person off the bench
right. So,
that
like
was able to stay around for a while.
a person like Terrell Owens, unfortunately, could not make the list because he had really one great season and a half of another great season, and then sit-ups in the driveway, helicopters in Morristown, New Jersey, and then he was gone. So just as quickly as he came, he went. So,
And then he was a Cowboy after that. That really rubbed us the wrong way. But people love T.O. now, especially in Philly. They love T.O.
He could
they act like he never played for the Cowboys, actually.
He could probably still play 20, 30 snaps.
I believe he could, honestly. I believe he could if I believe he could. Let's just put it that way. But we're going to we're talking about Sixers today. We'll talk about football next week or the week after, but we're going to talk about the Sixers today and some of our favorite Sixers. So before we go into the list, I just want to talk about some of my all-time favorite guys and some of the memories I have of watching the Sixers. Of course, one of the other stipulations is they cannot be a current player. Their career cannot be currently active. So Joel Embiid cannot be on this list.
And Ben Simmons. Oh, sorry.
Ben Simmons cannot be on this list. I was going there. Ben Simmons cannot be on this list. Okay?
Too soon.
But who can be on the list? Guys like Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley can be on the list. I don't think Moses Malone qualified. I don't think he played 40 seasons.
He played 5 seasons.
Oh, he did play because he came back.
He came back. That's what
came back. That's right.
He came back for one season. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because he played at least 20 years in the league.
Yeah, something like that.
He played at least 20 years in the league. God rest his soul. People love Darryl Dawkins. They love guys like World B. Free. They love those guys aren't going to be on the list. Andrew Toney could be on the list. The Boston Strangler. Maurice Cheeks, guys like that. Who else? Billy Cunningham, Dolph Shays. A lot of guys could go on this list. We're going through the whole history of the franchise. So some of my favorite memories come in the '80s when I can remember watching Dr. J play, Dr. J, Mo Cheeks. Those teams play. I can remember the downtime between 92 and 96 when the Sixers were just like.
You were rooting for Dana Barros and Clarence Witherspoon.
I was rooting for Dana Barros. I was rooting for Clarence Witherspoon, Charles Shackelford, Willie Burton, Tim Perry, Sharon Wright, Sean Bradley.
Man,
I was rooting for all these guys.
Coached by the great Doug Moe.
Doug Moe, I forgot he was a coach of the Sixers at one point. Doug Moe was it?
Doug Moe, baby.
Mike Jaminski, who was Moses Malone traded for Mike, or was it Jeff Rulin? It was Jeff Rule.
Jeff Rule, and then Barkley was traded for.
Barkley was traded for Tim Perry, Jeff Hornacek, and
Hornacek. That's what I was thinking of. Hornacek.
It was Tim Perry, Jeff Hornacek, and I want to say Wesley Person, but I'm not positive on that. I would have to look that up. But I remember that because it was '92. It was Dream Team summer. It was right before the Dream Team summer, whatever the case may be, and it is what it is. But some of your memories with the Sixers.
What are my memories? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I trailed for a minute. So I think when I first started watching the Sixers was right around that same time, right before things got nasty. And I remember watching a playoff. No, it's a regular season game when they went up to Detroit and played the Bad Boys, and then Barkley got into that fight with Bill Laimbeer. I'm like, this I can watch, okay? You know what I mean? But not really growing up a basketball fan. That was kind of fun to watch for that short period of time, and then it just got bad, and it got bad quick.
Yeah, you got in at a bad time. It was like it's exciting, and then all of a sudden the team sucks, and there's like no reason for you to watch.
because I think that was the first time I was still trying to understand sports, and then I'm like, well, why would they trade, a big guy that's good? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then you get back like people that aren't good. That doesn't make sense. Because it wasn't a heartbreaking trade. Like the biggest thing heartbreaking wise growing up was when we didn't re-sign Reggie White. Well, said two things.
That hurt.
Jerome Brown passing, and then 2 years later losing Reggie White. So it was a rough year for Philly sports, man.
I remember, man, Jerome Brown. I can remember, and this is not what we talk about, right? But when things come, I can remember when I guess it was the beginning of the year, maybe the first game, or at least the first home game after Jerome Brown had died, and they did like a ceremony or whatever, and I could feel myself getting emotional, right?
Right.
And I took my dog and went into the kitchen. I said, "Come here, doggy," whatever his name was, Sport, I think it was. And I went into the kitchen, and I shed a couple tears, right? So I was just sitting on something in the kitchen, right? And finally, my dad comes back there and says, "What you come back here for?" I was like, "Oh, I thought you might need some time."
You passed the buck.
Yeah, I thought you might need some time. I wonder if he remembers that. I'm sure he might be thinking about that now. Yeah, I do remember that. I don't know, but
I do remember when they drafted Iverson, and then the crossover with Jordan, and I was like, this things are finally changing, and that magical season of 2000. I was I always remember 2000 because I was dating a lot more, and I was actually dating somebody. I was dating a different person for each playoff that each of the teams were in. So that's how I remember.
Go ahead, Miguel.
It was a good start to the century. What can I say?
I ain't mad at
it. But as you can see, as the teams failed in the playoffs, so did those relationships. That's what I kind of remember. I'm like, I remember this. I remember the Sixers. Yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah, that whole 2000 season was an amazing season. It was a fun season. I can remember, I saw some of the games. I wasn't living in Philly at the time. I was living in Maryland. I was living on a college campus. When the playoff series against Toronto, I was watching from my dorm room.
Came down to the last shot. Vinny Carter.
Man, that was something. That was something. But we wanna relive some history with our greatest Philly athlete of all time, and we're gonna go with our greatest Sixer of all time in our segment that that we've like to brand. We have decided to brand this segment Bo. And of course, if you know what that is, that's the play on the words of Moses Malone, the great Moses Malone, may it rest in peace. When they asked about the playoff run for the Sixers, the year they won the championship. How's it going to go? Bo. Now, Miguel, I believe you went first last week, so I guess I can go first this week, maybe, and just to make it seem like I'm not saving the best for last.
Go for it.
All right, so we're gonna do that. Let's go ahead and let's talk about my list. All right. So on my list, should have made that a little bigger, but okay. On my list for my fo in no particular order. Julius Erving, Allen Iverson, Wilt Chamberlain, and Hal Greer. Okay. I believe Wilt Chamberlain and Hal Greer were actually teammates at one point. I believe they won the championship together in 67.
Arguably one of the greatest NBA teams, NBA seasons ever. One of.
Yeah, they was a record. They had a record-setting record, right? Before the Bulls had their
right.
Before the Chicago Bulls broke it, and then the Golden State Warriors broke that one.
Right.
One of the greatest seasons of all time. They got over that hump and beat the Celtics to get to the finals, and then did they think. But With that being said, do I need to defend any of these guys? Julius Erving, I don't feel like I need to defend Julius Erving. He won a championship. 3 of these guys won championships. Think about this: 3 of these guys won championships, and the one that didn't might be the Sixers' favorite son.
So I don't think you have to defend those 4. They're viable, but when it comes down to choosing one out of those 4, that's where kind of the defense comes in. So, so if you had to put these guys in a specific order, who would be your order from 4th to 1st? Who would be?
Okay, so I'm going to go as far as career is concerned. I'm not just going to go with career with Sixers at this point. I'm just going to go with the career.
Okay.
Because we know Allen Iverson played with other teams. Julius Erving, before playing in the NBA, played in the ABA for other teams. Right. Wilt Chamberlain played for the Lakers at one point in his career. Hal Greer, I think Hal Greer played his entire career. Well, he played for the Syracuse Nationals, and then they became the Sixers. Right? If I would have to see, am I going to go with statistically, or am I going to go with my favorite? Number 1 is definitely Wilt Chamberlain for me, regardless of how we're looking at it. Number 1 for me is Wilt Chamberlain. I personally am on record as saying Wilt Chamberlain is the GOAT. Okay. I believe Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player of all time, one of the greatest athletes of any generation, arguably. And if you just kind of do some research into Wilt Chamberlain, some amazing stories about Wilt Chamberlain. Okay. So number 1 is Wilt. Number 2, I'm going to go with Allen Iverson. I know. We could discuss it. Number 2, I got to go with Allen Iverson. But let me tell you why. Allen Iverson, although he did not have the success the other 3 guys had as a basketball player, and I'm just talking about championships, Allen Iverson really changed the NBA in the way that Michael Jordan changed the NBA. Allen Iverson's influence on the league went well beyond the league itself. It carried over into the streets. Allen Iverson brought street ball to the NBA. He brought, a different style of coach. Allen Iverson kind of was the guy that promoted being yourself, being true to yourself. Michael Jordan was the guy, the nice suits and all like that. I'm not saying he wasn't being himself, but that's what he wore. That's how he carried himself. Allen Iverson wasn't about wearing the suits to the game. He was about being comfortable in his own clothes, to the point where they had to redo the dress code for the NBA, right? Because guys were in the baggy jeans and the shirt and jewelry and all like that. They didn't want to see that anymore, because they felt like the league had an image problem. Number 3 on my list. Ooh, wow. Number 3 on this list.
Now, if you got Allen Iverson number 2, 3 should be easy. It really should. No disrespect to Hal Greer, but.
Well, I mean, Julius Erving, I do want to make number 3, but Hal Greer had a hell of a career too. Accomplishment wise. Let me just reel off some of the accomplishments of Hal Greer. Okay, he won a championship in 67. 10-time NBA All-Star. He won the All-Star Game MVP in 68. He was on the All-NBA second team 7 times. His numbers retired just like all the rest of them. He was on the NBA 50th anniversary team and the 75th anniversary team. I'm not going to go into his college accomplishments, but he was just one of the great guys. But I will go with Julius Erving at number 3. I know most people will probably put him at number 2 or even number 1. I'm going to go with Julius Erving at number 3. I actually wore 6 in college and beyond as a baseball player because of Julius Erving. Julius Erving was one of my favorite athletes of all time. Had he not played in Philadelphia, it could be different. I don't know, but I wore the number 6 because of him.
It wasn't because of Ryan Howard.
No, because I didn't even know who Ryan Howard was when I first started wearing that number. I didn't even know who he was. Now he actually took that number from me. Actually, Jimmy Rollins wore number 6.
That's right. I was going to ask you that. What was his first number? You know what Ryan Howard's first number was?
24?
12.
I was going to say 12. Oh!
Always go with your first instincts. I keep telling you.
I was going to say 12. I was going to say 12, and I was like, nah, it wasn't 12.
It was 12.
I'm so mad at myself now. I can't even do the show anymore. But Hal Greer at number 4, and that's no slight to Hal Greer. Hal Greer, great NBA career, as I just read off some of his accomplishments. One of the greatest Sixers of all time, coming out of Huntington, West Virginia, Marshall University, going from Huntington, West Virginia to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I guess technically Syracuse first, then Philadelphia, but either way, right. Going to the big city from West Virginia. It's a big jump. But those are my four for the Sixers. You said I don't need to defend any of them, but Miguel had his list.
It was just defending who was number 1 on your list.
Oh, as in Wilt Chamberlain being number 1?
As a Wilt Chamberlain. So
there should not be any arguments from anybody saying Wilt Chamberlain shouldn't be number 1. I'm just saying. However, our viewers will had the final say. And I feel like our viewers will probably say Allen Iverson before they say anybody else.
God, I hope not, but
Wilt Chamberlain is the GOAT to me.
Yeah. He should be the GOAT to everybody. Yes.
He's the GOAT. But I think people will say Allen Iverson before Wilt, because a lot of people I would say you're a baseball historian. I want to become a basketball historian. I've done a lot of research on Wilt. Wilt is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Amen.
Changed at least 5 rules in professional basketball were changed because of Wilt. Amen. In turn, there was a big rule change because of Allen Iverson, where in before Allen Iverson was doing what he was doing to the league. I'm not going to say dominating the league, but he's doing what he's doing. There was no zone defense allowed to be played in the NBA. It was all man-to-man. They even had a rule called illegal defense. If you were too far away from your guy without being double teaming or something like that, illegal defense. They changed that when Allen Iverson came into the league after he was killing, because he couldn't be guarded one-on-one by anybody. You saw that his rookie year when he crossed over Jordan twice. But with that being said, that's my 4. Irving, Iverson, Chamberlain, and Greer. If I put it in order, it's Chamberlain, Iverson, Irving, and Greer. Okay? But that's my 4. It's Miguel's turn.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
You want me to pop that in?
Sure.
Here we go. See, right. Miguel is good with his stuff.
Oh, stop it. No, well, I was motivated by, since we did the Mount Rushmore, instead of having the 4 faces, we'd have the 4 buildings of the skyline. So each person will represent one of the many buildings on the skyline. Stupid Comcast. Another show, another time. All right.
Hey.
So I forgot. Well, yeah. Stupid Comcast.
I don't own the company.
You're the reason why cable bills are $300 a month. Okay.
Has nothing to do with me.
So at number 4, going a little bit earlier or later in the Sixers history, not as in Hal Greer as you have done. Going Charles Barkley.
Okay.
From Auburn. I didn't know he wore the number 32 with the Sixers, but I forgot when they changed the jerseys he wanted to change too. So he's a Hall of Famer, 11-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA on the 75th anniversary team. All Rookie, and he was an MVP in 92-93 with the Suns. He was one of the first basketball players that I started watching when I started watching basketball. Played alongside Moses for a season or two. Was in the final 3 years of Dr. J because he retired in '87. Great shooter, big man. Almost knocked out Bill Laimbeer when basketball was really basketball. So that's my number 4, Charles Barkley. So number 3 for me, I gotta go Allen Iverson. 4-time scoring champ, Rookie of the Year, MVP, 7-time All-Star on the 75th anniversary team. And like you said, I agree with his impact on the game. I remember when the Sixers traded for him to come back, right? Because the Sixers were dead. We had Chris Webber and a whole bunch of slobs. And it was Sixers versus Lakers, right? It was the first sellout for a Sixers game in like 4 years since he had left. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that energy when he came back. What year did he come back? It was 07 when when he came back, 2009, 2010. Yeah. When you went to games in 2000 season during the championship or the championship run, there was that energy. And after he had left, we had the quote unquote new AI and Andre Iguodala. Didn't work out so well. It was just dead. But that energy that he brought back, and I remember when he came back, the lights dimmed, the AI comes out, he does his thing, he kisses the floor, he kisses the 76ers logo. And he didn't start that game though, which was like kind of awkward, but I was like, was real dramatic. I think he came in like late in the first quarter. And then all of a sudden he was just like old AI, just crossing over, taking everybody else's clock and everybody else's shot. And I think he dropped like 13 in the third quarter. But I also remember a player named Kobe Bryant, and he did it to us again that game. And I think he dropped like 25 in the fourth quarter, 3-pointer to the left, 3-pointer to the right. And then he did this joint again. And that was always the thing. Like, I know Allen Iverson was representative of basketball in Philadelphia for all of 2000s. But the thing that always hurt me as a fan was the fact that there was no question that he hustled, that he would die for this game. But I always was upset because he never did the right thing when he had to. And the reason why he's not number 1 on my list is because of one word. We talk about practice. And I think that's the thing that will always... Was he impactful? Yes. Did he bring basketball to a different level? Did he change the game? Yes. But that rant about practice, I think, is what cost him several championships. Not just one, but several. You know what I mean? Because you and I know as coaches what practice does. How practice helps you win. Not just games, but championships. And when he came back and that whole game, emotional high, that was emblematic of his career. You know what I mean? Like those are those dramatic highs, but at the end, Kobe's the one leaving with the multiple NBA titles. So that's my rank. So Allen Iverson is not number 1 on my list. He's number 3. Number 2 on my list is Dr. J. Julius. 16-time All-Star, world champion 1983. He played 11 seasons for the Philadelphia 76ers. Guess how many years he was on the All-Star team? All 11 years. Surprisingly, though, he actually did. He was all defensive player of the year in 75-76. Not necessarily known for his defense, um, but he was that year. Um, so, Dr. J.
He should have two. He should have two championships.
Yes.
He should have two NBA championships.
Yes.
And for people that may not know the story,
Yes, he should.
they were, correct me if I'm wrong, up 2-0 against the Portland Trailblazers in '76.
I believe they were actually. That went 7, didn't it? Because I thought they were
I
up 3
think
games.
I think it went 7.
And
I
actually,
think it went 7. But
it's funny though. They were actually up, I think, in 3 championships, if I'm not mistaken. So the Portland one you're talking about, they were up against the Lakers, I thought,
I believe so.
in '80, and that's when Jabbar got hurt, and then Magic Johnson took over at center,
Mm-hmm.
and then beat us in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know
I think that was a Game 7 too, wasn't it?
that was a Game 7 in Philly.
Rookie Magic Johnson.
Rookie Magic Johnson.
Rookie Magic.
But
the fight in '76, the fight happened. It was Daryl Dawkins and fighting, but they got suspended.
Right.
And that turned the series.
Yeah.
That turned the series right there. And the Sixers should have won. They were the favorite. But now Bill Walton has a championship.
Right.
At the expense of the Sixers. But continue.
Right. And that series in '80, where Magic Johnson beat us in that game 6 or game 7. I believe even to this day is the only time one city has had all 4 of their championships, or they compete in a championship in the same season.
Really?
Because in March of 1980, it was the Flyers. They lost to the Islanders. In April of 1980, the Sixers lost to the Lakers. In October 1980, that's when the Phillies won their first World Championship. And January of '81, the Eagles played and lost to the Raiders in the Super Bowl, but it was the 1980 season. So all 4 teams went to the championship that same season.
So we unfortunately we didn't. We only won 1. We went 1 for 4.
1 for 4.
We didn't go 4 for 4.
But you know what's significant about that?
What's that?
I was born in '79, so Philadelphia, you're welcome. With my birth came championships and competition of championships. All right, so Dr. J, number 2. And number 1, we both have agreed is the greatest of all time, Wilt Chamberlain, seen here playing for the Philadelphia Warriors. I'm still astonished that he actually played for the Harlem Globetrotters, and I believe his list, he played with them for 17 years. So he did this, I think he started off with them initially and then would play with them in the offseason. So he played with Philadelphia Warriors. They moved to San Francisco. Then he joins the Sixers, where he wins his first championship. Then he gets traded to the Lakers. I think it's one of like 20 of the worst trades in Philadelphia sports history to the Lakers, and he wins 1 championship there. But he's a Hall of Famer. He's a 13-time All-Star out of looks like 15 seasons, 16 seasons. 7-time scoring champ, 4-time MVP, was Rookie of the Year, Finals MVP in '71-72 with the Lakers. And like you had mentioned before, a whole bunch of rule changes because of him. One of the classic several rule changes include like widening of the free throw lane. The size of the paint went from 6 feet, then it went to 12 feet, then it went to 16 feet to try to slow him down. Free throw shooting, they actually had to move the line back. They had to move the rim up to 10 feet. Before, I believe it was around 9 or 9.5 feet. I did not know that offensive goaltending was legal at one point, but was deemed illegal because of Wilt Chamberlain his success. And for those that don't know, offensive goaltending is basically you can't be around the rim or touch the rim and then have the ball come out. If I'm not explaining,
You can't touch the ball. Or a shot on its way down.
on the way down, you
cannot touch the ball
on the rim. And so that was actually legal during his time. And there was a story that his high school team, when he went to Overbrook, they were upset with him because they would actually be shooting shots and it would be going in the net, but he would take it in and out, put it in, and he would get credit for the score. So they would get pissed off at him because of that. But there was one thing, and I want to see if I can explain this right. The rule now is when you're shooting a free throw, you cannot move towards the ball until the ball actually hits the rim.
You can't You can't come off the line and
come off the line.
Yep.
Prior to that, what he would do is he would shoot it and come off the line and dunk it in without touching the paint. Number one, I'm like, how can you do that? But I have to remember that the foul line was further up and the lane was smaller back then, so it was easy for him, and the rim was shorter, so it was easy. He probably could have just leaned in and just hopped maybe a foot and still make the shot, the free throw
maybe.
shot. So say what you want about Michael Jordan, he was the greatest within the rules, but he was not great enough to have the rules completely changed. It's what, like with Iverson, there were some like rule changes that were, kind of designed more to be more offensive. So those are more like strategic moves versus physically changing the size of lanes, moving foul lines back, moving courts up. Like the NBA had not seen anything like that. And I can only imagine how many 100-point games he actually would have had the rules still been intact. And it's a shame too at the same time, because to have somebody be that dominant and have to change the rules, like I don't know of any other sport that's ever really done that. Like baseball.
Only thing I can think of, and I was just about to mention, I equated to golf when Tiger Woods was on the scene, and when Tiger Woods went through a period where he was just completely dominant. Mm-hmm. They started redesigning golf courses because he was so dominant. They redesigned courses to make it harder for him because he could drive the ball further than anybody. So they had to move. They had to make the course, some of the courses longer. Making things more difficult. So, I don't hear about it much. I don't know how often it happens, but I do know it happened with, Tiger Woods. So,
and I know with baseball, like in the past, like they would, I think the biggest rule change or the biggest physical change to a field was, I think, in like the late 60s, 68 or 69, they decided to raise the mound a little bit because it was the era of the pitcher. So, you have Bob Gibson and like Steve Carl. You had a lot of dominant pitchers, Jim Palmer, things like players like that. And they were like, all right, well, let's, raise the mound a little bit and see what happens. I think they raised it up like 2 inches. You don't think 2 inches make a difference unless you see a guy throwing, 90 and 100 coming downhill a little more. But it's like you're changing like the whole dynamics of the playing surface for one guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a shame because I think he actually holds 68 individual NBA records. I think that would probably double if those rules, weren't changed to try to, slow him down. But it's just phenomenal. But
and he was an amazing all around athlete.
All around athlete, yep.
I mean, we can do a whole show on Wilt alone. I mean, he ran track. I believe he was a high. He ran.
He
He
ran.
was also a high jumper. And if I'm not mistaken, I also believe he threw the shot put.
Yep.
Okay, so think about that. Those are things that you don't usually get within the same athlete: a jumper, a runner, and a thrower within the same athlete. He was a volleyball player, which makes sense,
That makes sense.
right? He could get up. He's 7 foot tall. That made a lot of sense.
Right.
So he was. I had a post a couple years ago. I posted on Facebook a couple years ago, and it really stirred up a lot of people. That Wilt Chamberlain bench pressed over 500 pounds. And there were people that there were people that have heard it before and they were like, yeah, whatever. There were other people I know that I guess never heard it that could not believe that he bench pressed over 500 pounds. They said it was impossible that he bench pressed over 500 pounds.
And it's funny because like when you look at pictures of him from when he was like in high school, he was actually really like lanky. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't like, I don't know how else to say, but he wasn't like meaty and beefy like he was, with the Lakers or whatnot.
Beefy. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the biggest, huskiest of person. He was a little, but a lot of times when you have somebody tall and strong, the muscles are stretched out so they don't get, like, if he was as strong as he was Mike Tyson's height, he probably looked like Mike Tyson.
Right.
But he's like Muhammad Ali was strong,
right?
But he didn't look like Mike Tyson,
right?
You know what I mean? So it's all a perspective type of deal. When you're taller,
and some would argue that his greatest stat is 20,000, but we won't go there in this show.
We won't get into that, but let's say
he had a great and entertaining post career. Let's put it that way.
It probably. I don't think that was just post career. I'm just saying. But his post game was vicious.
Yes, sir.
So those are our four. There's only one difference between the two lists. We both had Allen Iverson. We both had Dr. J. We both had Wilt Chamberlain. I had Hal Greer, and Miguel had Charles Barkley. I was at a crossroads, like Charles Barkley, Moses Malone, Mo Cheeks. Mo Cheeks wasn't gonna make it.
I was thinking about Mo Cheeks too, because I'm a defensive guy, so it was like
it was like
I even thought about Chocolate Thunder for a little bit, but I was like, no.
Listen, but at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, you guys get to make the choice. So let us know who you think should represent the Sixers on our Philly. Bo.
And what I'll do is, for those that kind of follow me or follow Justin, I'll post on my social media and I'll post the links to those surveys too, and Justin will do the same on his end. So. But we'll gather up all the data instead of coming up with a result every week. We're going to do our fo every week and then add a survey. And then by the last show for the reveal, we'll take all the surveys, put them together, and do one big hot, nasty reveal.
Absolutely. Can't wait. You want to hear something real funny? Well, I guess not real funny, but you want to hear something funny? So when you were going through your list, right? And your list, you had the jerseys, how you do the segment where I need to guess, who the person is.
Right.
I was looking at it trying to act like I didn't know who you were talking about. I was just like looking at the jerseys and the accomplishments.
Right.
And I'm a basketball guy. Love basketball. Absolutely love basketball. And the history of basketball. I don't think I would have been able to pick those.
You don't think what?
I don't think just looking at the accomplishments and the jersey numbers, I don't know. Like if I'm looking at the accomplishments and the jersey numbers and I know it's Philadelphia guy, I probably figure it out. But if we're just taking the whole league and you give me those things, I don't know if I'd have figured all of those out. Like the Allen Iverson one, I probably would have figured out. The Dr. J, I probably figure out.
Wilt Chamberlain, you figured out.
Wilt, I'm pretty sure I'd figure that out. The Charles Barkley one, I probably wouldn't have figured out.
I would have threw me at the number 32 would have threw me because
that would have threw me off.
That would have threw me.
That would have threw me off. I also forgot he changed.
I only remember 34 and 4. I'm like 32, but yeah, that was probably the dumbest. You know how like there's jerseys that are like there's good jerseys and then there's bad jerseys and there's some that are just like that's dumb. That was a dumb jersey. I'm sorry.
It was.
And I think to this day that the best Sixers jerseys were the ones from 2000, the blue, the white, the black.
That's definitely one of my favorites.
The black one is my favorite. The black one.
Yeah, the all black one is my favorite. And like there was one time when they only one time that I remember. I don't know if there were more. Mark, when they were, I guess they were like on a fast break or they stole the ball, whatever the case may be. They were all running down the court, and Mark Zumoff goes, "Here come the men in black," and I loved that. And he never went back to it. I was like, "Yo, you gotta call them that all the time now." Yeah, man. They're the men in black. But I thought that jersey was cool. One of my favorite jerseys is actually the blue jersey with the red letters with like red Philly across. Or red Sixers or something like that.
Yeah.
That was actually one of my favorite jerseys. And I actually really, really like the current
with the
city
the spectrum, with the spectrum on the side.
Oh, those things. I love those uniforms. Those are pretty dope. And they put the floor with it and everything. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, a friend of mine said it looks like the Denver Nuggets, and then I told him to go to hell. So
yeah, the Denver Nuggets is no, they don't count.
They don't count.
They came from the ABA anyway.
They're the Nuggets. When I think Nuggets, I think of the 6 or the 10 piece at McDonald's.
Well, with that being the case, I tried to get past it. Uh-oh. It looks like it's time for me to be stumped, and I'm so mad. So I'm looking at this, right?
You're gonna get this. You're gonna get this in one shot. I feel it.
What's BLK champ?
Block.
So Block. two-time all defensive team?
Yes.
One-time All-Star and three-time blocking champion.
So here are the teams that this gentleman has played for.
Well, I'm going to guess a few of them.
Okay, go ahead.
Sixers.
Yes.
I'm going to guess like the obvious ones. Sixers. Celtics.
Yes.
Lakers.
Yes.
Spurs.
Yes.
Timberwolves.
Yes.
Toronto? No. Portland.
Yes.
Portland 3 times?
No.
So those Toronto at all?
No.
Phoenix?
No.
Suns? Knicks?
No.
Who's that orange and blue then?
Orange and blue.
Wait, so
all right. So, all right, you got the Lakers. You got Minnesota. You got Boston. You got San Antonio. You got Philadelphia. So, all you're missing is Detroit. You got Portland, Atlanta, and Charlotte.
Like my first instinct is you always say go with the first one, but
go with the first instinct.
I know the first instinct is wrong, but I'm going to just say it because. I'm going to say it just because, but I know it's wrong. My first instinct was Dikembe Mutombo.
Oh, absolutely wrong! Holy crap!
Exactly, because I know he didn't play for all those teams.
He played for most of them, but if the Denver Nuggets were on here, then because remember,
right, he did play for the Denver Nuggets, and I know he never played for the Lakers. Or the Spurs, or Portland. Anyway, it doesn't matter who he didn't play for because it's not him, right? Sixers. And he had a one-time All-Star and a three-time blocking. And a two-time All-Defense. Give me the era. Please
Come
give me
on,
the era.
man.
You give me the era.
Come on.
It's not Wilt. I know it's not Wilt.
No, you saw his numbers. His number was 13, lucky 13.
Right. I'm trying to think who wore 42. I know Stackhouse wore 42 for the Sixers.
Right.
I don't remember who else wore 42 for the Sixers.
He played for the Sixers for 5 seasons.
What 5 seasons were they?
Incorrect. He played. Oh, he did come back. I'll give you his second stint. He played for the Sixers in the 08-09 season, his second time around.
Played for the Sixers in the 08-09 season the second time. Who was on that team? 08-09. That was.
But prior to
Doug Collins era, right?
That or Mo Cheeks.
Yeah, it was between. Yeah.
Right. Because there's like 5 guesses I can give you, and I think if I give you even one of these, you'll guess it. Okay? But I'll give you one, and you're going to get it. He played with Larry Brown. Not in that 08-09 season, but his first stint.
Yo, I knew it,
Say it.
And you're gonna get mad because you're gonna like go with your first option.
But you said your first option, yes? Or you lied about
it. See, here's the thing. I don't think he played for all those teams, but Ben Wallace?
No, he was never a Sixer.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay. That's why I didn't say Ben Wallace. But I'm trying to he played for the Sixers twice.
Yes.
And his second stint was in 08-09.
And the first team he played for, which I didn't know, it was Detroit. So the first team he played for was in Detroit in 95. And then he came to the Sixers in 97.
He started with Detroit in what year?
95.
And then came to the Sixers in 97.
Yes.
Somebody's like yelling at the screen right now. Like, it's I'm so mad. 1-time All-Star, but a 3-time block champ.
If I give you this one guess, you're going to get it.
What position? Just tell me the position. Because, I mean, obviously he's a big man, but it's either center or power forward, right?
Correct.
Or both, right? So
both.
What big man played for the Sixers? It's not Chris Webber.
He was a pig. Sorry.
It's not Mutombo.
Nope.
I got it. He played for Detroit first. Did he play for the Sixers twice though?
Yes. I just told you.
No, not the person I'm about to say.
I just told you.
Not the person I'm about to say. If he came to the Sixers again, then I was completely oblivious to it. Theo Ratliff?
Bam.
Wow. He came back to the Sixers?
He came back after he went to Detroit a second time. He came back to the Sixers a second time. So he started out in Detroit, came to Philadelphia. Remember, he was traded during the championship run. He was traded to Atlanta.
Right. For
he had a broken arm or a broken wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went to Portland. Then he went to Boston, Minnesota, back to Detroit.
Wow.
Back to Philadelphia, and then closed out his career with San Antonio and then Charlotte.
I did not realize he played with all those teams.
Yeah, man.
Honestly, I don't even remember him making the All-Star game.
And you see that number, right? Number 50 for the Sixers. That was his second stint because he was
right. I can tell by the uniform that was the second stint. Yeah. Right. Wow. I don't remember him playing for the Sixers a second time. Mm-hmm. I don't remember him playing in the All-Star game. But I guess it would have had to be that that championship season.
Was it the championship
The
season? Yeah,
2000 season. Yeah, that was his best season.
You know what? I think but he broke his arm. He broke his wrist in January, and then that's what spawned the trade for Mutombo. Because it was him and Kukoc that went to Atlanta, right?
In that trade?
That's what I thought.
He definitely went. I don't remember if Kukoc was part of that trade, and I had to look that up.
Who did we get? Because Kukoc was on the team. Who did we trade Kukoc for?
I thought Kukoc might have been a free agent signing, but I don't remember exactly.
No, he was, because I remember because he was my favorite player that season.
Kukoc?
He was a sixth man, Tony Kukoc, but I thought him and Ratliff were traded for Mutombo.
Well, that was a good one, man. That was a good one. Kudos to you for that one. That was a good one. Because I was stumped on that because I didn't know he played for so many teams. And his era, it doesn't get forgotten. Like Philly loved Ratliff.
Yep.
But because of the success of the team right after he got traded, people tend to forget how good he was for the Sixers. They remember him, but they forget how good he was for the Sixers.
And I remember one thing I do remember, there was a stat when Theo Ratliff was on the Sixers. I think they were like 10, maybe 15 games over 500. But when they traded for Mutombo, they actually only played 500 basketball. I think they were like 1 or 2 games on over 500. And remember, every series, with the exception of the championship, went 5-7-7.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So if you look at the trade long-term wise, they only played 500 ball with Mutombo.
True, but a lot of people also believe that had they not traded for Mutombo, they may not have made it to the finals that year.
I don't know, man. I keep thinking, man, if it was Theo Ratliff versus Shaquille O'Neal versus Dikembe Mutombo, I think Theo, because Theo was fast. That's what I always remember.
Theo was
fast as a center.
I don't feel like Theo was strong enough to deal with Shaq.
He wouldn't have had to have been strong. He could have run circles around him. Let him get his.
I'm talking about defensively. Nobody could. Yao Ming was the only one that was really able to do something with Shaq. And, well, of course, Hakeem Olajuwon, he schooled Shaq.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think Theo Ratliff would have been able to handle Shaq in that situation. Hell, Dikembe Mutombo had trouble handling Shaq in that situation. That's why Matt Geiger got in there to get a lot of fouls. I remember that squad. But
so the Sixers traded Theo Ratliff and Tony Kukoc to Atlanta. And they got.
Did they get back, before you say anything, did they get back Dikembe Mutombo and Rodney Buford?
Hold on, I gotta put my glasses on because they all look like women. Thursday acquired Allen Iverson, born in Philadelphia to be a great player. Blah 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 blah. They got. Hood also gets forward Rashawn McLeod. And they also gave up Nazir Muhammad and Pepe Sanchez.
Temple's own Pepe Sanchez.
Temple's own.
Nazir Muhammad. So, that Sixers team, looking at it now, right? You said Pepe Sanchez was part of no, they got Pepe Sanchez in that trade, you said, right? Or he was traded.
matchup against Western.
Oh no, they got Pepe Sanchez because he was on the playoff.
Yeah, Philly gets Rashawn McLeod while center Nazir and rookie Pepe Sanchez moved to Atlanta. So they actually traded Ratliff, Kukoc, Sanchez, and Muhammad to Atlanta.
How about that? How about that? That was a good one, man. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, because I thought I had the basketball ones on lock.
I mean,
I thought I had it on lock, but you got me with that one. That was a good one. You got me with that one. Got me with that one. And I'm mad because I didn't know he played for so many teams. I didn't know. That was amazing. Well, there you have it. That's the Check Swing Podcast. Be on the lookout for our survey. You know, we're finding out who our 4 greatest Philly sports athletes of all time are, and we're going to put them on our Bo skyline, okay? And make sure you are on the lookout for that. But definitely vote, because you guys are deciding who goes on there, all right? So with that being said, it's time for us to get on up out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging with us here on the Check Swing Podcast. And for Miguel and myself, we'll talk to y'all next time. We out of here. Peace.